Chapter 20. It was 50 yards in diameter and filled the central circle around which the village had arranged itself. All the villagers clumped together at the edge. Save for Mears and Joe, everyone wore white. They were jovial, too, talking among themselves until they spotted the outsiders and turned solemn and mournful. Joe had the sense the others were approximating a ritual they didn't fully understand, but Mears took the turn as a sign of respect, as if they'd remembered it was more tactful to hang their heads. Monsieur Goose stepped forward, arms out in greeting, his little boy, Little Goose, in tow. They led Mears and Joe to the center of the graveyard. The gravestones were cramped together, tufts of grasses and weeds filling the spaces between. There didn't appear to be any open ground remaining. Mears did a rough count and estimated 200 graves, as many dead as were mourning. What would they do when it was full? Mears started to question Monsieur Goose, but the old man stopped beside a dugout pit. Red-breasted chiffchaff moved about in quick and frenzied motions. Philoscopus canariensis, thought Mears, related to the Scottish rainbirder and wood warbler, but with shorter wings. They hopped along the gravestones, testing which to perch upon and flicking their wings and tails as if nervous about the people who didn't seem to notice them back. 2 chiffchaffs landed on an adjacent stone. Their cackling sing-song was not entirely pleasant, Joe thought. The 3-wheeled blue truck pulled up from between the distant shacks and into the crowd, made a U-turn, then backed up to the edge of the graveyard. A black curtain was draped over the flatbed. Choke, the truck driver, and the Black brothers pulled a wooden coffin from beneath the curtain. They carried it through the crowd and set it down at the edge of the pit. They lifted the end into the pit, but it got caught on the edge and they fumbled with it a bit until it slid down to the dirt and into place, mostly. Everyone gathered around, pressing Mears and Joe into the middle. Words were said, by Monsieur Goose, by a few others, some tossed in flowers, then dirt, first the ceremonial ashes to ashes, dust to dust, scoopful, and then Choke and Aviola Black shoveled the rest on top. The larger of the 2 chiffchaffs flew off. The smaller, previously silent, perched on the burial mound and chirped a song of horrible laughter. Everyone stared down at the grave, solemn as dignitaries, ignoring the birds' cackles. They tried to weep. Mears could see them struggling, fighting the edges of their lips from curling, straining against their heaving diaphragms, but the bird kept laughing, and soon everyone else was laughing too, and the rumble escalated into thunderous howling. The bird flew off, but the laughter continued. Monsieur Goose was the first to stop, and as quickly as it started, it was over. The truck left. Silence enveloped the grave. Villagers hung their arms around each other and around Mears and Joe, too. Then the crowd broke into sporadic conversations, and some gathered instruments to play music. Monsieur Goose found his way back to Mears and Joe. He held their heads close and whispered. Everyone was dumbstruck, he said. They'd never felt as close as they had during those moments of laughter. And Monsieur Goose admitted that he even had a vision of the exterminator's corpse, laughing with them too, and then dying, again, really dying, his soul released after that final gut-busting laugh. The musicians organized themselves into a line at the edge of the graveyard. With 2 flutes, a violin, 3 bongos, a guitar, and a trombone, they played a convincing dirge. But then, at Monsieur Goose's request, they began Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. Monsieur Goose smiled at Joe, and she smiled back, her eyes filling with tears. She'd always loved the Beatles. How did you know? The band fumbled through the beginning, with the trombone and flute separated by fifths in place of Lennon's voice, and the bongos giving it an extra lilt that delighted Joe. They sped up as they approached the bridge, and unsure what followed, fell into chaos, and the trombonist blowing at the top of his lungs and the flautist stepping on each other until they fell into time again, but now they were playing an entirely different, unrecognizable song. Joe wiped. Monsieur Goose approached, arms open, seeking embrace as usual, but Mears intercepted. leading him away by the sleeve.
If you don't mind,
Said Nearest.
I have a few questions.
Questions?
Asked Mr. Goose, looking back toward Joe.
Yes, starting with this graveyard. It's rather packed, don't you think?
Packed?
Asked Mr. Goose. His white hair was blown back on his head.
There's hardly room for more. What will you do when it's full?
When it's full,
When there's no room?
there is always room for the dead.
Said Mr. Goose.
But just the same.
Why does everyone expect death to surprise?
Asked Mr. Goose.
Why shouldn't we know when she's going to arrive? Why shouldn't we let her in ourselves?
I don't know, but
Began Nearest. But then he saw a man beneath the eave of a shack 30 feet away, half in shadow, half in sun, talking with one of the flautists. He was short, with long ears, a weak chin, and a slash across his eyebrows.
that man
Said Nearest.
from the photograph, that's him, Buzz George. The man you just buried.
Where?
Asked Mr. Goose.
Right there. The exterminator.
Where?
Right there. You're looking right at him.
Mr. Goose laughed.
Of course not. That is his brother-in-law.
No, I met his brother-in-law. Wait, why would they look the same anyway?
Apologies, I misspoke.
Said Mr. Goose.
I meant his brother.
The brother-in-law's brother?
No, the exterminator's brother.
Are they twins?
Twins? What is twins?
Twins. Same birthday, same genes. Come on. Twins.
Twins! Oh yes, of course!
So they are.
Yes.
And you didn't think it worth noting before.
It is interesting to you?
Interesting? What do you mean interesting? How do you even know which one died?
Because the brother is alive?
But the man was no longer there.
And what does he do?
He is also an exterminator.
Nearest laughed in frustration. He looked back at Joe. She was by herself, half smiling, wiping her forehead, removing and replacing her headscarf.
Why didn't he say anything?
Asked Nearest.
Who?
The brother, during the eulogies. Why didn't he say anything?
He is quiet. He moans on the inside.
He was just chatting with the flutist.
He moans inside.
I'm sure.
Said she.
So how did the others die? The ones buried here.
Mr. Goose sighed, waved at the graves.
Stabbed, bludgeoned, shot, bound, hung, drowned, poisoned, diseased.
He said.
What does it matter? It was all the Wendigo in the end, one after another. If not by consumption, then by possession.
I thought the possessed always survived.
Nope. Sometimes we must kill it.
Mr. Goose frowned.
Other times the remnant of man inside makes it so that death does not forget him and comes without fuss.
What does that mean? That they just die on their own?
Yes.
It's a shame we can't study the transformation itself
Said yes.
to see the full cycle.
A cloud shifted away from the sun. The lines on Mr. Goose's face deepened.
Yes, I know.
He said.
Perhaps there's still a chance. I just hope it happens soon.
Said Nearest, feeling only a slight pang of guilt at the implications of his wish.
Yes, soon.
Said Mr. Goose.
And the rumors. Any new?
Mr. Goose rubbed his elbow. He watched the birds hopping from stone to stone.
Have you ever wondered what secrets of our birds, excusez-moi. Have you ever wondered what secrets of ours the birds keep?
Asked Monsieur Goose. Pierre studied his face, trying to break through the words and gestures, read his mind.
There are, aren't there?
Said Mears.
More than you realize. The only way to be truly safe is to kill them all.
What, the other villagers?
The birds.
What was it you said at the end of the service before they threw the flowers in?
Monsieur Goose grinned.
When you arrive at the light, you have finally awoken.
He said.
Do you understand?
Yes, I think I do.
Villagers were approaching Joe. Joe's face was flushed, sweat dripping from her brow. They were concerned and wanted to know what was wrong with her. Bonhomme guided her to the nearest gravestone and helped her sit. She felt anxious and sick. She looked again for the older woman who led her to the bathhouse, but couldn't distinguish anyone in the sea of white dresses. She looked for Mears. He was watching her. Monsieur Goose was too. They both started toward her, but were blocked by the gathering crowd. The villagers huddled around her. Their faces were full of warmth and concern. They told her she could leave at any time. She was under no obligation to stay at the funeral or in St. Ulphia at all. Someone would help pack up and take them away. Before she could even blink, she'd be back in the safety of wherever she came from, and Mears too. There was nothing more to do. All would be fine. Jo realized she understood everything they were saying. Nothing needed translation. She searched again for Mears. Yes, of course, she said. Of course, it's time to go. Thank you so much. The villagers all nodded. They touched her gently and turned to leave. She tried to stand, but couldn't. She was overcome by the feeling that she was an insect wobbling at the center of an intricate silken web, connected to everything she could see or feel or think, and yet also aware of tremors caused by an unseen predator. The combined sense of sublime meaning, hope, and fear was overwhelming, and she started to fall. Mears was behind her. He saw her tip forward, and without thinking, he reached for her arm and caught her wrist, but her center of gravity was still pulling her down, her head aimed at an adjacent gravestone. He followed and grabbed for her, his hands wrapping around her chest, and fell with her, twisting sideways to avoid the gravestone. Mears fell on the dirt. Jo's body fell on top of him, but her head hit the bottom of the gravestone. Her blood flecked the dirt beside her. Mears held on to Jo, horrified, his hand unmoved from where he'd accidentally grabbed her breast. Overcome by the simultaneity of blood and breast, death and life, his knees against the soft dirt felt cold and moist. He smelled nothing but the ferrous burst that follows a hit to the nose. He recalled his first time seeing images of dead women stripped of clothing and lying bare and vulnerable, the brief flashes of arousal he'd felt and the shame and confusion that followed. It was abominable, the body reacting before thought could intervene. Was he alone? Did others feel similar flashes they'd never admit? He felt like a monster, but he knew he wasn't. He wanted to let go of her, but now he'd held on too long, and it seemed an admission of guilt to stop. Villagers looked down in terrible silence. Finally, Mears let go. He pushed himself up and reached under Jo's shoulders and pulled her up too. He set her against the grave and stood over her to block the sun with his shadow. He pressed his hand against her wound. The blood was slowing. Her face was turning pink. She'd wake at any moment. And then what would he say? Had she felt his hand on her body? Had she known it was there? The villagers began to disperse. Jo came to with a sense of relief. She saw Mears first in shadow, blocking the sun. She knew his hands had been on her, that she'd been helpless, and said nothing. She felt a throbbing on her head and reached up, but Mears stopped her. The music started to fade as the band moved deeper into the circular streets. A second, darker shadow spread over Mears and over Jo. With the glassy eyes of a murderer coming to confession, Monsieur Goose stared at them,
Espondito Alahara.
said Monsieur Goose.
Lucky you, Dr. Miss. There is another.
Ooh.